the Office of the Auditor General for this special audit report on the digital platforms that we have in our country. And as PAC, this has been coming up a lot in most of the departments that we have done their audits. I'd be keen to know of what you called the gateways. You said there are some that moved, some have not. It is important to know which ones haven't and which one have, because that will tell us a lot of things. Secondly, Chairman, it is very good that Treasury is coming before this committee, because as a country, we do things with very good intentions. The eCitizen platform is actually good if it is used in the correct manner, because it will lose, the middlemen there, and all the resources which the country needs is collected. But where the problem comes in, Chairman, is when we put brilliant ideas like this to steal, to loot from Kenyans. And mostly that is what happens in our country, Chairman. So I'll be very keen to go again, read this and interrogate before Treasury comes before this committee, and look forward that the observations that the Auditor General has made, and I'm sure we'll also add some recommendations as a committee, they be implemented. As you said, they are high level, by the highest level, and that is the presidency, to ensure that the eCitizen platform does what it is supposed to do.
Chair, now the governance structure of this system is quite confusing. We have three state departments. We have the State Department for eCitizen Services, or for Citizen Services. We have the State Department for ICT, and we have the National Treasury. So calling National Treasury alone on Thursday to answer to this may not clearly give us, much as they are the owners, there will be a lot of blame games between themselves and the other two state agencies. Because from this report, it is not clear the separation of roles, whose role is what. And perhaps maybe the lack of clear governance structure is what has caused this whole mess that I've told you I don't know where to start from and where to end, because the questions are far too many than we can even ask. And the Auditor General is not the right person to ask these questions, because they are they are just the auditors. But I think it would have been important that we also listen from ICT, where they come in and where they exit, and citizen services, because I know this particular system or this particular office is actually situated at the immigration offices, where immigration officers are. So that is where they are stationed. But I don't know what role then citizen services plays in this particular scenario. So I would have expected the three state departments to be called to give their views, and perhaps at some point, if we are not putting them together, at some point they all come, the three of them, and now blame each other on the table, so that we finally get a proper solution to this system going forward. Because as Mheshimiwa Naisula said, it is a good thing to have a digital process of collecting payments. But everything in the implementation has just gone wrong. Everything. Thanks, Chair.
Chairman, just a little issue, and I agree with Honorable Kitan that it won't make sense to only listen to Treasury. But I wanted to ask a question, because I remembered there was a department, I can't remember clearly which department which came here, and the audit issue, when it was raised, they said it's because they don't have the back end of, it was actually the state law office. A lot of people pay when they go for marriages, and when they answered their question, how much they collect, they said they can't tell. And so it is important to know from you whether it was captured here on how departments, because they're the ones who answer the audit queries, whether they can access, how much, they should also know how much, because the accounting officer of that department needs to know how much was collected and where it went to. But that accounting officer could not answer that question at all, and it is one of the questions that we are hoping Treasury will be able to answer.
Thank you very much. You can hear the sentiment from my colleagues. First, we want to thank the Office of the Auditor General for the special audit. This committee requested for this audit, and it's quite clear that this audit has given us the true oversight or the true status of the eCitizen platform. I want to thank the auditor because you have outlined or brought forward some of the questions which even the common Kenyans keep asking themselves whenever we talk of all government payments should be done through eCitizen. And I just want to pinpoint some of the areas which I would really want you to restate again, so it's quite clear, because I know some media houses are on live or want to get it clear. Like there's this issue of, on page 6, there's the issue of implementation of the government digital payment platform, where you have stated clearly that it was supposed to be fully automated revenue collection in real time. But you have gone further to state that, and I want to quote, that instead payments are initially directed to various collection accounts and later transferred to a settlement account held by the National Treasury. The National Treasury then prepares manual settlements, instructions to the bank to transfer bulk funds from the settlement account to the MDS bank account. This implementation process has led to several challenges. This one is to show that it's not actually digital, but it's like we went back to the manual system. Yes, which looks even to be more worse than the way we expected. There's another point which I would really also wish that we look into, where you have stated on page 10, under unauthorized transfers from M-Pesa payments. There's a pay bill number, sorry, 22222, where you state that we had 4 payments from the pay bill number to private entities. Are you able to give us the names of these private entities, which amounted to 127 million Kenyan shillings? It was transferred to private entities. You have not disclosed to who these private entities are. Do you have the names of the private entities? This is public information. It's public money. This Public Accounts Committee, there's no need to hide. State the names of the entities if you have them, so that we also go for them. We know if we have people who are trying to divert this money to private entities the way you have stated, we should find and know, and even look for, even there are companies, we look for CR12 to know who are the directors of these private entities that are being paid money. And it's not only even on that page, but you also stated the same on page 11. Yes, number 34, 11, where you also stated the same issue of, of private entities benefiting. Then on page 12, which I also want the auditor to also emphasize, is the fact of charging a fee that is contrary to the gazettement. Because you state clearly there was a Gazette Notice 9290 of 2014, and then it gives a direction on what is supposed to be charged. But government goes further through through the treasury, the National Treasury, and charges a different fee, collecting an amount of over 1.8 billion above what was stated in the Gazette. And therefore, I would just wish that you emphasize, so that it's well captured. And the committee really thanks you for the report. We have invited the PS for Treasury to come on Thursday this week, and is coming to react on this report which you have given us. We also invited the PS for ICT, but he sent a letter saying this fell under the PS for eCitizen. Citizen Services, sorry. PS for Citizen Services. So we have also invited the PS for eCitizen Services to appear next week to also react on this report. Yes, Marianne?
Chair. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. Mine is also just to reiterate what you have said, that since we have this special audit, we want everything on the table. Because what has been leading to a lot of speculation is now things that are not clear. You know, when you leave it as private entities, then now it is picked, and now people start saying it is so's and so's company, it is. If we are going the whole way, we want the whole way of knowing who are these private entities, so that this matter is put to rest once and for all, and we move forward with the recommendations.
Yes.
Chair, I think ICT authority wanting to run away from this cannot work, Chair, because the auditor has brought it out that ICT, in paragraph 9, it talks about ICT authority had the mandate of managing payments, a role not provided by any legal instrument. So they cannot run away, and therefore, Chair, they cannot say it is a citizen services. Let them come and tell us here, and let citizen services tell us here, yes, it's true, ICT authority are not there, but for them to run away on a letter, I don't think it's fair, Chair. I think they need to come here. But I think as you emphasize, secondly, as you emphasize the issues that the public needs to appreciate, I want to also emphasize the cost of services of government, especially in paragraph 24, that is page 9 of 13, where certain services become very, very expensive to the consumer or to the Kenyan person, like Kundemboga, for example, a product of Kenya Seed, ends up being 80 shillings when it was supposed to have been 30 shillings plus maybe a convenience fee of 5 shillings. Instead of it being 35, it ends up being 80 shillings. And you know, this Mama Mboga who will buy this Kundemboga will be told by Kenya Seed, we don't take cash, go pay through this pay bill. So you have forced them to buy the product at 80 shillings, as opposed to buying it at 30 shillings if they had cash, or 35 shillings at the most if we needed to have done this digital payment. Because one of the things government should have done is even have an opportunity, maybe then that person pays that money directly to a bank account and come with a receipt to show that they've paid, and they would only pay 30 bob, not pay 80 bob. So that is really, really making the Kenyan products that are given by government entities expensive to the very person who is supposed to get the products at far cheaper price. And that's the reason why government exists, to make products cheaper or more affordable in the market as compared to competition. Thank you, Chair.
You can see, Auditor, that from your report, and this is to everyone who is in this room, on page 3, where you state the summary of the key audit findings. A talks about failure to develop legal framework. So the system lacks legal framework. So it can't be backed anywhere in any law. B, lack of clear government structure. The system lacks clear government structure. C, lack of standard operating procedures. The system lacks standard operating procedures. D, lack of service level agreements with financial service providers. Lack of service level agreements with financial service providers. So it's quite clear that this system, if we love Kenya, Treasury, you are here, we should not be using it. Because it lacks any base, anything, even the service agreements with financial service providers. Even this money we are saying it's going to private entities or going to certain banks, it is illegal. Even if you go to court, the bank can win against government because it's lacking service level agreements. So surely, let's be sincere as Kenyans. This eCitizen is not supposed to be operational from these findings of this audit report. That's the truth. Because it lacks anything, as in there's no document to support it legally. No document to support. And that's where we are like having all payments going through it. So we thank you, Auditor. You are not the witness. I'm not saying that you are supposed to answer, but we are going to invite the relevant accounting officers to prove if truly they have the operating structures and the legal instruments.
That query had asked the auditor about the 50 shillings, whether National Treasury recognizes it somewhere in their books and how it is recognized, if at all they've cited it.
Yes, Auditor. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Chair, we've had your settlements and let me respond as follows. First is on Honorable Keitani on the matter of recognition of revenue, which is also a matter that we always check both in the financial and also in this special audit. And it is declared as part of revenue. Then the convenience fee is sent to the ICT authority for payment of the services, the gateway services and the maintenance services that accrue to this process. Remember, it's the fee that it's outside the normal rated fee for what you're paying for. So the expectation is it's used for maintenance of the whole service, of the whole system, which is either the gateway or the PESA flow or that whole system.
But you confirm it is recognized by National Treasury in their books?
Yes.
Chair, and that's why I'm telling you, ICT authority cannot run away. They receive the money and now pay service providers. So when they write to you and tell you they don't know nothing and the citizen services, they're running away. Chair, they need to come to this committee.
Yes.
Chairman, before the questions, it is important because they were specific. The rest were general comments, Chairman. Maybe he can ask his and then we allow him to answer the specific questions.
Yes, Namwar, then we give the auditor the chance.
Chair, I want to thank the audit office. This is one of the best audit reports you've been able to produce. And this gives me the trust that we have a good audit office in Kenya. Because what you've been able to demonstrate here is clearly the manner in which special audits are done, and you've been able to give us the glaring mistakes that you've been able to do as a country or as MDS. Chair, mine is to rule out that eCitizen platform is a scam. And why? In page 3, Chair, you've been able to read that there is no legal framework to guide this. And that's what makes it a scam in totality. You've been able to mention, to point out that there is no standard operating procedures, meaning we are in the jungle. And whatever we are doing in this platform is either we don't know what we are doing or we are just beating around the bush. Yeah. You know, in page 7, when the auditor is able to show that there is lack of revenue traceability and accountability, and it's good if you're able to bold it in this report. Lack of revenue traceability and accountability. So, again, it's a scam. Totally. Chair, in page number 11, there are these 4 bank accounts that were configured in the eCitizen platform that were not, again, authorized. Chair, maybe you'll take point when they report, when they come, who are these 4 bank accounts? Either the AMDS that are used maybe to wire this money through the eCitizen platform. We will need to know these bank accounts. How are they even receiving the money? And how is the money transferred or accessed from these bank accounts? It will be important. Chair, when the PS comes, or if the citizen services PS comes, please allow him to give us a real-time manner in which money is received into this eCitizen platform, so that we are able to know how PESA flow, or this other one called, is operating. This other one is called what? Is it the West one? This other company, is it a company or what? How is the money real time, so that if you can be able to demonstrate how the money is paid by the citizen, how it flows all the way. Mine is to see how this money gets to the exchequer. Because in the PFMA, no one is supposed to use the money at the point of receipt. PFMA allows us all to take the money up to the exchequer for distribution to whichever. But if you receive, for example, the office of the state office that was here, if they receive money from marriage certificates and they use, it is wrong. That is what I wanted to say, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Auditor, you may respond to some of the queries.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. I had responded to Honorable Marian Keitani on recognition and also on the Equity Bank. Chair, it's important to know that there are many the system is linked to many banks that operate as payment channels, which in itself is a good thing because you give everyone an opportunity where they have a bank. Because remember, we are talking about connecting also the RTGSs or connecting business to business. So in and itself is a good thing. What we just had a challenge is when there are no SL, service level agreements. Because if you look at maybe some of our bank accounts, we say T+1. But the money hits, after 1 day, it's transferred in total to some maybe clearance account, and then some reconciliations happen. So we have a number of payment channels. I think they are close to 30. If you look at Annex 2 of the main report, that will be able to show you. We have, to the extent of Visa as a channel, because remember, we also dealing with international clients who are coming into the country, our tourists and the like. So, Chair, on the other issue, on the governance structure, which Honorable Keitani also raised, it's true. Our expectation is that there's a tripartite arrangement with a steering committee. And that steering committee is the one that offers the oversight at execution level to ensure that the system is developed or the resilience of the system is maintained. So we want to agree with what she's saying, and also our recommendation, as you said, was that the 3 main players, the eCitizen, the State Department for Citizen Services, were principally there to onboard Then the National Treasury is on revenue collection, IT authorities to manage the other issues. So, Chair, our main issue is that at a governance, we expect a governance structure defined so that decisions then are made within a defined framework. So who makes the ultimate decision, who calls the last shot, and then who receives reports from the three players so that they make a determination, so that if this was an internal audit report, it will then have been received by the steering committee, and then the steering committee will ensure that these things are addressed. There's also the issue of the clearance account that, Chair, I know the expectation is that just the way we pay in our supermarkets, you make a payment for goods bought, it hits the till opens, it runs a receipt, you get out. And that's what we are talking about, that there should be no manual intervention on the monies that goes to the State Department, say, if it's a state law, on the revenues that they receive. Chair, Honorable Naisula also asked a question on the gateway. What has moved to the new system? Chair, that we can provide, but what remained was what was there before. So the services that were there before the presidential directive remained in the old payment gateway. What went to the new payment gateway, remember at that time there were not as many. We went up to 20,000 when we even had a deadline that each of us must move to.
Namwar coming in late so that I don't know what really transpired. Because what is here, Chair, is quite a mouthful. First and foremost, the PFM Act, if I may state, is a system, it's an act of parliament that guides what National Treasury does. National Treasury has decided to defy its own act. I don't know, maybe let me ask the simple ones, whether Auditor General has checked where the 50 shillings is, how the 50 shillings is recognized in the books of National Treasury. Do they recognize it as a revenue? What kind of revenue do they call it? Do they declare it? Do they, I don't know, maybe you can just guide us a bit on what happens to the 50 shillings. But more importantly, Chair, you know, I'm actually, I don't know where to touch, where not to touch. The whole thing is a crime scene. That's all I can say. It's a real crime scene. And if I go to page 10 of 13, the unauthorized diversion of revenue, the first question is, how did Equity Bank come into place in the first place? This is money belonging to National Treasury. The Bank of National Treasury is CBK. That is how I used to know, unless something changed halfway through the whole process, because I would have expected all this money to be collected into a CBK account, which is the bank account of the National Treasury. Maybe I also need to be guided by Auditor General. Maybe I am reading my own law, I don't know. But more importantly, how did Equity Bank come in? If you look at that amount of money that is unreconciled, receipts amounting to 68 million, and US dollars, 48,142,844. I have just converted that to Kenya shillings. It is 6.25 billion. Oh, please do, unless maybe my calculator also has a problem. But when I convert using the calculator I have, the 48 million is 6.25 billion. Add 68 million, that is 6.3 billion shillings that National Treasury, that we are unable to account for. At the very instance, even before we go into the details, remember these monies are all over this report. Everything unaccounted for, a lot of things unaccounted for. We have 2 billion somewhere, we have 1 billion somewhere, but just one specific unauthorized diversion of revenue of 6.3 billion. 6.3 billion, Chair, if I convert that and say, can a road be done in my constituency, and I divide by 80 million per kilometer of road, that's about 100 kilometers of road that I have missed, or my people have missed, because money has gone, I don't know where. But as I've said, Chair, I don't even know where to start. I am actually, I don't know. I'm stressed.
Naisula.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and I'd like to thank the
Briefly, maybe the structure, which if you look at the main report, it's on page 40 and page 41. That's where we've been able to see what is the interaction between me as a citizen, or you as a citizen, the service provider, who is a state department, who receives the money, whether it's a bank account, how that money then gets into the service, the bank, and then how then that money moves again to the service provider at the end of the day, that reconciliation of the paying bank. So, Chair, you'll see the interaction between the GPG, which is the government to government process, and then the stakeholder. And then on the other side is the citizens and the National Treasury, how that money is managed within the system. So the expectation, Chair, is that once you're onboarded, fully defined, and that's why we needed, even in the new system, we do not expect a service defined without the owner of the service. So if it's State Department, if it's a marriage certificate, the service is defined. The bank account to be settled is defined. And that's where, Chair, we say that why we say it's not right to put the manual intervention is because then if you do the manual intervention, someone else can change. Then who had authorized the change? So that's why we are saying some of these should be what we call through APIs. Chair, there is an issue also that Honorable Naisula raised, which is that configuration, that we do not automatically settle the payments once they come. And it is true. Here we say that, however, the current implementation of the government payment gateway, as illustrated in that figure 2, does not automatically settle collected revenues directly to the payee bank accounts. Instead, payments are initially directed to various collection accounts, and these collection accounts are with the various, either the wallets by service providers, or these are payments to the bank accounts, which are later transferred to a settlement account held by the National Treasury. The National Treasury then prepares manual settlement instructions to the banks to transfer bulk funds from the settlement account to the MDAs. And this is where then the main challenge comes in at an instance that a manual reconciliation is done. Then when we go there, we find there's what we call residual funds that are left in some of those accounts. And then also we are settling funds that are prepayments, we are settling funds that are payments in advance. So the service has not been rendered. So that in itself becomes a bit untidy. So, Chair, on the matter that you've raised on page 6, automation of payments platform on the settlement account, which is on page 6 of the report, it is true, Chair, that there's the issue of manual interventions and delayed remittances to entities, because the expectation is that at an accounting level officer, should be able to know what services have been paid for, up to which date, and to what amount, and what is outstanding, so that generally between the two parties, there is a clear agreement. And then unaccounted receipts in the settlement account, again, Chair, that is the issue of just the manual intervention. It means that someone must then manually intervene to make those payments and onboard them. Chair, you had mentioned about the issue of private entities. We first, on the bank accounts, Chair, our practice is that we redact or do what is called data minimization on the bank accounts on the report, but those are available for the committee. But in the report, our practice is that we minimize, the report should not be able to identify the bank account, but that information is available and we provided to the committee. For the two private entities that had been paid 127 million was under Wandabo Associates Limited, 63 million, and Gold Rock Capital Limited, also 63. The money was in exact equal. On paragraph 34.
On that particular one, is it somewhere in this main report? The names of the
No,
companies?
we had not put
but
that.
we can provide us.
We can provide
that
that information. Yeah, because again, just for
for integrity of the report, we always like not to put, but it's information because you're the requester of the service. On paragraph 34, Chair, you had mentioned the issue of, again, the lack of a governance structure. That one I have explained. And then I just want to correct something, that the SOPs that we expect are during the change management on this particular item. And what we call change management is when there's a request to, say, maybe put my colleague as a user in the system. A request must be made. The SOP must define how he makes the request, who authorizes, who approves, the log is maintained, for what period and for what purpose, because in the requisition that must be clear. So in the change management, that is why we are saying the SOPs must be clear, because then we cannot hold anyone accountable if a user first, say someone is identified as user one, you see the procedure should be very clear. User one, or we identify him as, if it's Adi, we say Adi dot something user. So that if we're looking at the footprints of the system, we'll be able then to say this interaction was done by this particular person. But if you leave it blank, someone can be identified as user one or account one or account two, and there's no one who will tell you who account one or account two will be. And that's why it's very important that at the very onset, that steering committee will be able then to develop as its initial process to develop those kind of things. And then the SLAs with the financial service providers, Chair, is that, remember, this money, the more it is held by the service providers, it creates the challenge of liquidity, because we are all talking about cash flow management. So if the money is with the service provider for 8 days, then we funded the service provider for the period the money remains with them, yet government has requirements that needs to be settled within the same period. So practice is that in the SLA with the financial service providers will be an agreed date, maybe +1, +2, or immediate. Now, Chair, you also raised an issue that we had brought up, and is the issue of the convenience fee vis-a-vis the prorated. Remember, the government, the Gazette notice, intention, or what was then gazetted, was the money to be prorated per the amount. And this is what was not done. And that's why we then had the difference and identified what then is the difference, quote unquote, refundable to the citizens. So, Chair, the initial intention by the minister then had the intentions that Honorable Keitani had raised of making the goods and services not to be overly expensive as they are when they're at a convenience fee. For us, maybe when you're paying maybe you're paying for your passport at 10,000, a convenience fee of 5 or 50 does not look much. But the services where this, and you see when you have the steering committee, they will be able to know how many, or they will be able to band the revenues and see where it has the highest impact of services and what rate then they should charge, so that the convenience fee is not a blanket fee, but a fee proportionate, maybe even to the payments that you make, so that the convenience acts then as a convenience fee. And in the band, Chair, in page 24 of the main report, you'll be able to see they had the nominal administrative fee, which had been described in page 34 of the main report, where payments of over 1,000 bob those are the payments that were charged 50 shillings. And granted, if you look at 50, what is 50 to 1,000 bob, then it shows you that it maybe warrants. So that is what has not been done, and the audit report has been able. Honorable Keitani also raised the issue of expensive services, which I've also responded, and then also the comment on our relevance and credibility. The point has been taken, but also there's the issue that we will be able to provide the details later on the bank accounts that we've minimized, and then I just also want to clear that MDAs only get the settled invoices and funds transferred and not paid and not the paid invoices. So it's the funds that are in the settlement accounts that then are transferred, which is in paragraph, I think, 3.2.5 of the main 3.2.5 of the main report, which shows.
I had also, on page 3, I had also highlighted the issue of failure to develop legal framework.
Okay.
And also the lack of clear government structure, lack of standard operating procedure, and lack of service level agreements.
Yeah, Chair, on this lack of service level agreements with the financial service providers, I've just said that it is important that service level agreements are maintained with any party that is seeking a service or interacting at a high level. If it's the service level agreements between the Treasury and the ICT authority, they also require service level. When a complaint has been made, what is the turnaround time? When money has been paid, what is the turnaround time? So that requires to be done for all the parties. But at this particular point, you had raised with the service level agreements with the financial service provider. A standard operating procedure, Chair, I've also raised it, the SOPs, where it is important that the standard operating procedures are embedded and documented so that, Chair, for continuity, change, or even transfer of these payment platform, say, to maybe another government entity, or even during the audit. When someone is holding your account, the first question we ask, what is the criteria? We use a criteria. The criteria is, this is what the expected steering committee or the governance structure has said, this is what should be done. So we give an assurance to them. So without that, it becomes a big challenge. So what we use as best practices, or what is the standard procedure? On the governance?
Yes, Maria.
No, it was something different from what I wanted to ask. I just wanted to know, this money that is unreconciled, does it sit in the bank or does it go to Treasury and it sits there? And what happens to it finally? The unreconciled monies, which is supposed to go back to the owners, to the citizens of Kenya.
Thank you, Chair. As my colleague is getting that, on the legal framework, Chair, the expectation is that this is a critical risk because this system can deny you a service at the point where you're seeking a service. This being, you're in hospital, the system has gone down, you can't then, there's no other procedure or redundant procedure that is there to give you this service. That is why we are saying it requires a legal framework that is approved and well thought out, so that then that's the point we are going to say these are the risks that are inherent, these are the risks that are going to be mitigated with the legal framework, and these are what we have given to ourselves as the leadership through the National Assembly. Chair, there is the question that has been asked by Honorable Keitani. I'll refer you to page 32 of the main report, where we say due to lack of SLA, analysis of eCitizen collection bank statements reveal that the number of days taken by banks to transfer funds from the revenue collection account to the settlement account differed from bank to bank. In addition, the funds held in the collection and settlement accounts as reflected in the eCitizen accountability statement for the financial year ended 30 amounted to 7 billion. In that table, Chair, we've shown the money where it is resident. So if it fails to, when the money, what she's asking is that the residual funds will remain in the bank account that is the settlement account, which then will wait for.
And additionally to that question,
yeah,
how much money was paid irregularly from where you sit?
Or to make it even clearer, maybe, this collection account and the settlement account, is there an instance where money was received in the collection account that was differently transferred to the settlement account? Do you have such kind of figures?
Because, just repeat that again, Chair.
You know, those in these two accounts, once the money hits the collection accounts, right, And you said in your report that this is where there is human interaction. That's money. Is there an instance where the money that was received in the collection account is not the same as the money in the settlement account?
Let me restate it like this. You're saying money has been received, and then a manual interaction happens, which say you've received 50 million, but what has been transferred is less, or is different from the 50 million. Yes, that is, and that's why then some of the money in the settlement requires to be reconciled. Remember that we have also identified that there are monies that are unreconciled.
Were you able to provide such?
Yes, they're in the
as
report.
Evidence?
Yes, they're in the report.
As an attachment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Senior Counsel.
I had to step out to another committee, and so maybe this question was asked already. If it was, then you don't have to. Maybe I'll get from our team. But I was at that point where on page 5, webmasters IFC had handed over to webmasters in 2017. Then strangely on 13th January 2023, there's a fresh handover. So these webmasters, then now I see that on page 9, there's now Webmasters Kenya Limited, Pesaflow Limited, Olive Tree Media Limited. Were you able to establish the ownership of these entities of interest?
We add also these electronic citizen solutions, the one that was paid. Is there a relationship within all those?
Yes. Chair, let me respond to this question by Honorable Chinde. Yes, the first transfer for 2017 expectation is that the system then remains in National Treasury. They build, offer service, and then they continue building. Then the fresh retransfer, and that's why we've put quote in quote, a retransfer. So the first question we asked ourselves, then who transferred it from 2017 back to the webmaster? So that's a point that we did not move to investigate, because remember this was not a forensic, it was just a special report on the high level operations of this system. Then the other question was again in 2023, where we have the three entities that you have mentioned. Where is that? Yes, irregular payments in the payment of irregular payments of eCitizen platform support and maintenance contract. So this is where the electronic Citizen Limited was paid. The expectation that we had is that the payments were to the parties of the contract. And therefore, that's why we identified that this payment, we could not see them in the contract that had been signed and the contract given to us. So the first thing is we flag it we did not, I will not say that we did not raise the veil. It was not in our interest to lift the veil at this point.
Members, this is not the witness.
No.
No.
We are helping him. Actually, he's helping us. But let's just complete that. So you are saying it was not in your interest, so you are leaving it up to us to investigate the ownership. Because from this is a record of a monumental scandal. So if you didn't, then it means you are leaving it up to us. Is that the position?
Chair, that is the position, because if you look at paragraph number 5 of our report, we have very clear terms of reference. And anytime we step out of the clear terms of reference, we get into another space of a different...
So let's hear from Mugo, and then we finish with Nabi.
Chair. No, Chair. Chair. Chair, I want to catch your attention, Chair. So, Chair, when listening to the auditors and having scanned through this report, I think I want to agree with the senior counsel Otiende that we are staring at a monumental scandal, okay? Or monster. Because, Chair, if you look at this report, Chair, and the queries that have been asked by the members here, we might even move from special to forensic. Yeah, because it is very clear from page 1, it is just issues. No steering, no, from page 1 to last, no steering committee since 2021, no standard operating procedures. You are saying that security and privacy of data exist. You established weaknesses that might affect confidentiality, availability, and integrity of information. Then you leave it at that. And you are talking about money, funds, and you know what is happening in this country in terms of the, these days people are not stealing from banks using guns. They are still using these systems. So, Chair, I don't know, we have to listen, maybe we'll listen to the PS for National Treasury, but that is not enough. Because if you look at what has been raised here, this system is domiciled into, actually in three ICT, Interior, Treasury. I don't even think we need the PS here. We need all the CSs here. We need the CS for Interior here. We need the CS for Treasury here. The CS for ICT together with their PSs, Chair, so that we can be able to interrogate this report. Thank you very much, Chair.
Yes. Chair, I'm sorry that you may think we are taking too much time. But remember, this is the system where Nanyama, the widow of Wekesa in Mugunga, who has 4 children in secondary school, you are directing that he pays the money of school fees through this system, where Nanyama will not have an opportunity to interrogate when her money gets lost. Chair, I'm very concerned with the language used by the auditor, and Chair, you will have to bear with me. In paragraph 28, the auditor chooses to use the words in the last sentence, these payments were deemed. I have a problem with the word deemed irregular. Deemed. Because, no, that one is running away from responsibility. Paragraph 28. If something is irregular, it cannot be deemed to be irregular. Yes, it's alleging. I mean, but that is beside the point, Chair. I want us to go to the recommendations, Chair. And I'm going there, Chair, following what Senior Counsel has raised and Honorable Mugo. Why was it difficult for the auditor to recommend, having realized that payments were paid to people who are not part of the agreement? Why has the auditor been shy to recommend a forensic audit? I'm concerned because it's supposed to help us, but he's putting all other peripheral recommendation, but the really recommendation that will bring out the people who have manufactured this fraud, because this is a fraud, are not mentioned. That recommendation is not there. I need to understand why he's shy of recommending the really thing that will bring out the issues.
Chair, on a lighter note, he could also tell us why he's shy of not mentioning Nekesa after mentioning Wanjala.
Chair, you know, Mary Ann speaks from both sides.
Yes, Namwarwa.
That was a commercial break. Chair, paragraph 7 of the handover report by Webmasters, Kenya Limited, to the government of Kenya was not honored. Why was it not honored? Why was it honored? Because you are saying webmasters refused to hand over the operations of the eCitizen platform to the government of Kenya. Right?
Chair, maybe he can point out the
It is there in your recommendations.
In the main report.
Document.
Main document.
Go to page.
7 of the further robust change. The auditor says that it should hand over. So he's supporting, he's not saying that they're not going to hand over. Yes, Senior Counsel.
Chair, I understand the anger in us, but let's not misdirect it to the people who are helping us. because I know that on Thursday we had agreed, and
Yes.
I don't know whether you ruled.
Yes,
that
it's coming.
Not just the peers. Did you also rule that we're inviting these companies? Because we need to invite these companies. This is total fraud. And we will not be going anywhere if we don't get to the bottom of it. And the PSS will not help us. We want to know who's behind these companies.
Yeah, we had invited the PS, but not with the companies.
Yeah.
But we are going subsequently to invite the companies.
What of ICT and security?
ICT,
Yeah, we actually need all those entities. The 3 state departments, and as you've heard, maybe the ministers may need to come in, though the accounting officers are the real key people. And these companies, as in this is monumental, Chair.
members.
And I
Chairman,
think we
I
need to
agree.
handle it
Members.
in a way that we actually get to the bottom of this.
Members.
Way forward, Chairman, then I suggest I suggest that we have Treasury, ICT, and Interior on Thursday. And then, Chairman, later, after we've heard from them, because it will give us a lot of information, the companies then come after we have listened to the 3. But having Treasury alone here, without also the other 2, and is a waste of our time.
You see, invitations are prescribed in the standing orders. You have to give a notice of 1 week. You can't ambush an accounting officer and tell that accounting officer to come the following day, no. So we had given a notice to Treasury and is willing to come on Thursday. And then subsequently we are going to invite more. Yes, as the committee feels that this and this should be invited. All that the committee will recommend to be invited, we shall invite them to come and appear and answer. Members, I want to indulge you that we stop there.
Allow, Chair.
Because this is not the witness.
I understand, Chair.
This is the auditor giving us the report.
Chair, if we invite the National Treasury alone on Thursday and listening to this report and looking at how this report is, Chair, yes, it may not be able to give us any much information. I would recommend, Chair, that as a committee we request that we stand down the witness of Thursday, which is the National Treasury, and get the 3 of them together. And we can do the notice today for a 7-day notice.
We are going to do an in-house meeting to agree on that one as a committee. Yes, auditor. You can see Senior Counsel is laughing because he has not agreed to it. So, auditor, we are glad for the report. Please, we want to release you. We have another witness waiting. Thank you very much for that.
Chair, I just wanted to correct,
Yeah.
you know, the Office of the Auditor General is a big supporter to this committee, and the Office of the Auditor General has value on relevance and credibility. There is a statement that was made to the effect that we were shy. If you go to the main report, page 21, item number 1.71, from 1.7 to 1.71, it is clear that the office has an interest in ensuring that this matter is settled, where we have said, page 21 of the main report, where 1.70 and 1.71, but I'll just dwell in 1.71, where it says, it's further recommended that irregularities highlighted in this report be subject of investigation by other government agencies. Just wanted to clarify that so that it does not look like we are shy and we are...
forensic. Yeah, you know, we are still
Auditor General, we value your office, and we always work.
Radio 88.2 FM. We are in charge. More radio.